Hello folks. So here at the Slate booth, Musikmesse 2013, we're very proud to be debuting the Raven MTX and the Raven MTI. So I'll start this off by talking about a history of the recording industry, because the recording industry has moved so fast in the last 25 years. And if we go back 25 years ago, when I first started working in recording studios, you needed several devices to make music. You needed, first to record your tracks onto a multi-track recorder, like a tape machine. And then from the tape machine, you would go to an analog console where you'd mix the tracks. And then if you wanted to use effects and reverbs and EQs and compressors and outboard processors, you'd have all these in an outboard rack, and you'd mix those into the console. And then when you wanted to finish the mix, what would you do? You'd have to print it then to another tape machine. And that's the music making process 25 years ago. Now, fast forward to 2013, and our entire recording studio is in the computer. Our multi-track recorder, our mixer, our effects processors, our nonlinear editing, and our mixdown deck are all inside the computer. Now that leaves us with many advantages, but it also leaves us with a major problem. How do you get the same workflow that you had when you were formerly on an analog console? Because part of the creative process using analog gear was to be able to manipulate tracks and to have an interaction with your tracks and have that console and have that control and manipulation and creativity. And you lose that by having a recording studio that's inside the computer. So where are the solutions? The solutions were to create a hardware controller to control the computer, but then you're still having this obstacle because you're actually not manipulating the audio. You're having a controller which then controls the audio. And of course, even worse than that is if you have nothing and you have to use the mouse, then you lose so much creativity because you can't do multiple faderides, you can't do multiple automation moves, and you can't have the freedom of creativity and workflow that we had 25 years ago on an analog console. So at Slate Pro Audio, we had to think what would be the solution, what would be the best way to take back the workflow of a modern DAW studio. And the answer, folks, was in my pocket. Everyone probably has one of these. This is what the consumer industry has done to get control of our computers, a touchscreen. So we use that same type of concept for audio. And here we have the MTX, which is a multi-touch production console. Let me explain first about the technology. Like I said, we all have touchscreen telephones, touchscreen iPads. The small touchscreen market is huge. Everyone has a small touchscreen device. Now, the large touchscreen market is very small. Many people have probably never used a touchscreen this large because it's a very uncommon necessity. Mostly large touchscreens are made for digital signs and kiosks. Never know, like a kiosk, I'm not sure if that translates to Europe, but a kiosk, when you go to like a mall or a shopping center. So when we first reached out to several technology companies who are making multi-touch technology, we said, we need a touch screen, or I should say a touch technology that will work under 5 milliseconds. And they said to us, well, what the hell kind of kiosk are you trying to make? And we said, we're not trying to make a kiosk, we're trying to make a revolutionary audio controller. So we developed a new technology with them that has under 5 millisecond response rate. That's very important for an audio controller because you need that immediate response. As soon as you touch a fader, you need it to react. So if you watch, I'll take this fader here, you can see how quickly it reacts. I can even do something so fast, I can flick my finger like that. And you can see the fader just sticks with it no matter what I do. Really quick. I wouldn't even try that with an analog fader because you'll probably break it. I promise I won't break these. So this is the first and most important part about the technology. Then we have this state-of-the-art backlit LED screen. It's made to be a digital sign. It will never get hot. You can leave it on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this whole entire device was built for a pro studio. So let's talk about what we can do with the touchscreen. So I'm going to sit down here and show you a few things. First thing I want to do is I want to get organized. If you don't get organized the first thing in the mix, you're going to really have a trouble with your workflow. So I'm going to use these little boxes here. I'm going to put some graphic icons. So I'm going to have my drums here. I'll put my snare here. You can see I can just touch And this may at first seem gimmicky, but picture a 120-track mix, and let's face it, folks, mixes are coming in that large these days. Now, if I want to bank around and try to find where the drums are, it's so much easier to get my eye on these little graphic icons than it is to get the little text. So it makes it actually easier to find certain tracks. Here's my lead vocal, for instance. We'll put a lead vocalist there. You can actually take a picture with your iPhone of the actual artist or the instrument, and you can put it in these boxes as well. So let's continue getting organized. Let's group our mix into groups. I'm going to hit command, and with one gesture just like that, I can drag my drums here, hit create group, and just like that, I created a drum group, you see? Just like that, just with a gesture, just like with your iPhone. I'll do the same thing with my guitars. So here's my guitars right here. With my finger, I'm just going to drag them all like that, hit create group, hit guitars, and now I just made a guitar group. So you can picture how fast and easy it would be to create groups in Pro Tools. And again, just to make sure everyone realizes it, even though we're looking at this touchscreen mixer, which is a multi-touch mixer, what we're actually looking at is the Pro Tools mixer. Here's Pro Tools, and here's the Pro Tools mixer. If I take, for instance, the lead vocal here, if I put this fader down here, now we go to my mixer, the Raven mixer, you can see the faders down here. So this is a mirror of the Pro Tools mixers. Everyone follow me there? This is a mirror. This is not a separate application. This is the actual mixer of Pro Tools. Of course, now with our mixer, it's a multi-touch environment. The Mac OS, despite the fact that Mac and Apple has led the way with small tablet touch, Mac OS is not natively multi-touch. So this allows it to be multi-touch. You can see I can grab up to 12 faders at the same time. So any of our six-fingered friends will feel right at home with this desk. So let's keep getting organized here. Let me start actually mixing. I'll show you some mixing moves. So let's hit play here. So I noticed my vocal needs some automation. So you can see I can automate it like this. And I don't even have to keep my finger on the fader. Watch this. I can get lost in the mix, and I can have my hand here because it's more comfortable here. But you can see I still have a vocal here. And now I'm noticing my bass guitar is too loud. So watch, I can grab my bass with this finger. So now I have the bass with this finger, the vocal with this finger. They're 8 faders apart, but I'm automating both of them. You see? Now I notice the slide guitar is too loud. I can go and just slide that out with my third finger. So you can see how creative you can get by having virtual faders. It allows you to do things that you can't do when you have analog faders. Another thing we can do, so let's say we had the vocal sitting right here. Okay, so I like where that is, but I want to accent certain words, just a very little small amount. I hit the numeric display, and it puts me in fine fader mode. Let me show you what that does. That means if I move the fader, even just small amounts, it only goes by 1/10 of a dB. I'll show you the difference. So here's fine fader mode. You can see it's only going by small amounts, and then here's normal fader mode. So here we go again. I'll put it in fine fader mode, and I'll get accents on certain words. Again, I can have my finger anywhere on the screen. I can watch the fader like that. So again, it gives you the virtual environment, gives you the freedom to really get creative with your mix, things you can't do with an analog fader. We'll do some more things I can show you. So we're in the middle of the creative process, and we just want to hear what our close mics of our drums sound like. I can do a solo swipe. Watch this. So I just swipe the solos, the drums, and now I can instantly hear the drums. So I can see if there's a mistake or a problem. I can swipe it back like this. Just like that. Here I'm going to solo the guitars. Now I'm going to mute all the background vocals, just with a swipe. Just like that. And again, these are all things that when you're in the middle of the creative process and you just want to make a decision. So you say, okay, I want to hear, if this vocal will sound better without these background vocals. You just do a swipe. You want to hear what's going on with your drums. You can just do a swipe. Stuff like that really helps the creative process be unblocked. Now, of course, I can start doing my send faders here. So here's the first 5 Pro Tools sends, and I can move those up here. But let's say I'm making some Q sends or some headphone mixes, or actually just working a lot with my sends. I can either manipulate the send faders here, or I can just move the whole entire module down just like that, you see? So if I can get really focused on just using my sends, because again, the virtual environment allows us to customize anything. So I can put that back here. Is anyone left-handed in the crowd? Is anyone lefty? Anyone? Yeah, okay, so your name?
Anna.
Anna has the left-handed disease, folks. So unfortunately, if he were sitting here...
No, it's plate of pie.
There you go. So he probably wouldn't want his transport to the right. So what he can do is he can customize his work surface on the Raven. He can put his transport here. I can put this here. Let's customize it for the left-handed diseases. Here we go. So now we've got that there, this here, and now we have the perfect layout for our left-handed friend here. You see, now I can... So you can customize this whole work surface. And here's the cool thing, if you have multiple engineers working on the same console, which is obviously very popular in a pro studio, you can save that layout. So we can save that layout to something else, and when he's working, he can have his left-handed version. When I'm working, I can press layout 1 and it jumps right back to my right-handed version, you see? So it allows several engineers to work on one desk and everyone to feel like they have their own custom layout, because they do. Let's continue with the mix. So now I want to start working with my processing, so I'm going to load my insert. So here's our little insert window. So this shows you the inserts on each track. So here's my master fader. If I touch my lead vocal insert, you can see it jumps to the inserts of the lead vocal, which there is none. So let's go back to the master fader, and I'll put insert 1. Happens to be the Slate Digital Virtual Bus Compressors. This is a new plugin we're showing here, brand new at Musikmesse 2013. So I'm going to start manipulating this. But again, I'm not going to use Logic controllers to control the different parameters. I'm not going to, use the mouse. I'm going to use my hand, just as if it was outboard gear. Watch. Active gear. I reach out and I grab it. I can do the same thing with an EQ. Here's the stock Avid EQ. And there you go. You can actually reach out, touch, grab, and manipulate the plugins on the actual desk.
Does it work for any third-party?
It can work at anything. It'll work for any third-party plugin. But Slate Digital, what we're going to be doing is making actual channel strips where the knobs, just like here, you can go around, you'll be able to have gestures, grab them with 2 fingers, all of that stuff is coming. We're also working with several third-party plugin companies who will be making touch plugins and multi-touch plugins. So I've showed you a lot of the great mixing features. Let's go to the editor, because with a touchscreen there's so much cool stuff we can do with editing. I'll show you a few things. So here we have our touchpad. And this is a virtual trackpad, so what I can do with that is I can zoom in on a track like this, see? By one swipe I can go like this, I can zoom in and out like that. And again, having our edit tools and everything in front of us allows us a lot of power. For instance, I can just start grabbing stuff. So I want to hear what this section sounds like here. Or how about this section? How about this little section here? Let's hear how this section compares with this. Do you see how quick and easy my brain thinks of it, my hand reaches out, and the creativity is just happening. You're not blocking any of the creative workflow. We could do some other cool things here in this window. For instance, let's say we want to do some automation. I can go to this background vocal and I can go to the volume automation.